how do you use questioning
Mm.
fueled by curiosity to create conversations that lead to relationships, that create opportunity, or that create opportunities that lead to people making decisions? He's like, forget about all the scripting, forget about like, what if you're curious enough about somebody to ask them enough questions, get to know them on a deep enough level that you build a relationship, and then an opportunity arises. And I'm like, hey, Jack, you got to check this out, bro. Like, you know me, you trust me, we trust each other, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, take a look at this, right? So many of us in the real estate space try to ask a question or two that sets someone up to get them to make a decision. And when Phil started talking about the failure we have in not allowing our questioning to build relationships, but forcing our questioning to force decisions, I was like, lights went off, right?
Hey, Jack Lehr here. I'm down in Lehr's Lair, and I got the Lehr Podcast today. Amazing guest. Got to meet this gentleman less than a year ago, but almost about a year ago. His name is Joe Herrera.
What's up, Jack?
Welcome, Joe.
Thanks, buddy.
So Joe is he's a business owner. He's an investor. He's a leader. He's an international speaker, because we spoke together down in Mexico. Even though your label says national speaker, it's international. Kind of funny. He is a certified guide within the Phil M. Jones, exactly what to say, correct?
Correct.
And we're going to talk about that as we move forward here. Joe's out in Las Vegas, broker owner of the Joe Taylor Group in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yep.
So let's bring lots of energy and let's help these people out there, because Joe is killing it. He has teams across the United States, and like, he just loves helping people. And that's how we met. Yeah,
it's true. Yeah.
So we're at the same brokerage, and Joe just has this mentality of just helping other people, getting in proximity of those that, can help you take your business next level. And Joe introduced me to a ton of people in his world, and it actually changed my world. So thank you, Joe.
Yeah, there's no problem. Ditto, my friend.
So you have a business partner for your team out there in Nevada.
Right. Yeah. So Taylor and I run the Joe Taylor Group, which used to be one thing. It used to just be, we helped people buy and sell houses in Las Vegas, Nevada. That was it.
Yeah.
That was our whole world. Over the last couple of years, we've really branched out. And so now Taylor primarily runs our investment side. We'll purchase somewhere around 80 properties this year that we buy. And some of them we flip, some of them we rent, some of them we become the bank on, whatever it is. And then he runs all of our ancillary services. So he does, we're in title, mortgage, insurance, and solar. So we're, monetizing the real estate transaction in a bunch of different ways. And then I do the retail team, and then I run our network as well. So for years, the Joe Taylor Group was just he and I helping people buy and sell houses with a team. Now it's a lot more than that.
What made you make that shift?
Well, I think I got to a point of there's a lot of books that talk about channel capacity. Organized Tomorrow Today talks about channel capacity. You can only do so much. And I got to a point to where I just couldn't continue to operate in the same way. Like I was burnt out, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And so when we hit that point, Taylor and I said, well, what if, rather than forcing ourselves to do things we don't like, what if we just went all in on the things that ignite our soul, like the things that we're passionate about? And so at that time, I've always been a marketing guy. I'm a lead generation guy. I think I'm the best lead generation person as far as leveraging Facebook for real estate leads.
Great.
Like we crush it. So I was like, let me just go all in on that. And he really has always had a passion for the investment side of the business. Okay. So he was like, let me go in on that. And then when Real Broker came into our world, it just expanded our world so much. 2 years ago, there was 100 agents in our office here in Vegas, and that was our whole world. Now, like you mentioned, we've got we're almost at 1,500 agents in our network across all of North America.
Yeah. We've
got teams in 7 different states. We're buying properties in Ohio. And so it's just our world is so much bigger, but it almost came out of It was originally born out of channel capacity, just being burnt out.
Okay.
And then Real kind of just put it on steroids.
Yeah, most definitely. We both get to experience that alongside of one another. And Joe is a
Right.
great partner. He's an incredible collaboration partner. And quite frankly, I got to tell you, like, you're the one that really helped me with that word collaboration.
Yeah.
I kept hearing you say it and I was like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? What the hell is this? But you stayed consistent and you helped me with my mindset.
Well, I think there's some natural collaboration principles that we all end up living by, but they're generally driven by monetization. So like when you think about it, we really are pretty good in what the world would call collaboration in like working with employees. Like, but that's not what collaboration is. Collaboration for me is how can I deliver value into people's lives, learn from them, help them succeed, knowing that the universe is going to bring it back.
Yeah.
So it's not driven solely by income derived from somebody else. For me, our collaboration is driven by how can I help Jack, and how can Jack help someone else? How can I learn from Jack? How can Jack learn from me? How can we both learn from the third person? Because real estate is such a competitive industry. We're all building walls constantly. And I thought, man, what would happen in our world if I just become a bridge builder? Like, and I don't know how to monetize it. Like, I don't know, like when I started thinking about this, I was like, I don't know how to monetize collaboration, but I'm just going to build bridges and see what happens in our world. And the opportunities for monetization is almost the easiest part. The hardest part is making sure you deliver value, I think.
Yeah. It's pretty cool because, again, you talk about Real Broker. And I think that's one of the things that, again, that's how we got connected, quite frankly. Tamir Polo,
Right.
We had a conversation, we connected and just had a conversation. And just, Joe kept saying collaboration. And I didn't, again, I just didn't understand it. I understood what the meaning of that word meant. I was doing something different in a very similar capacity. Again, I think you're an incredible giver. We like to give and help. I think it's just a different way of defining it, but I think the way you brought this collaboration, it really helped change my mindset. And then now I talk about it quite often and people are like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm like, whoa, this is pretty cool. So,
well, you gave me a great example when we were prepping for the call, and that you're working with an individual in your local marketplace where you guys aren't tied together financially. You're not teamed together. There's no network affiliation. But because you have a common goal, you're now growing together and learning together and building together. And that's the coolest part, because it's almost like when we do it for money, like you do a lot of coaching. I do a lot of coaching where people pay me money to help them improve their business. I can't, for lack of a better term, I can't bastardize collaboration and call that collaboration. That's employment. But if there's not where collaboration, the test for me is, can I deliver value to somebody without an expectation of income in return? And if I can do that, the income seems to just come. It's like the craziest, it's the coolest principle. It's almost like the secret for building with other people.
Yeah, I love it. So Joe, what did you do prior to real estate?
Nothing. So I was a really poor student in high school, graduated high school with a 1.5 GPA, or so, like a D plus average. I had a lot of my family history. There's a lot of addiction. My mom's a compulsive gambler, so that kind of led into some of that. I found religion when I was in high school. I ended up serving a 2-year mission for my church in Washington State.
Okay.
And when I came home from missionary service, it was like I was 21. I had no college experience. What I really wanted to be was a personal injury attorney.
Really?
But the thought of going to 4 years of college and then 4 years of law school, all to try to make money, was just too big of a roadblock for me.
Okay.
So my two options I saw were real estate and insurance. And insurance, I was envious of the residual income that they made.
Okay.
And real estate, I was envious of the big checks they made. So being 21, 22, getting married, I was like, well, I need big checks. So I went down the real estate wormhole, if you will. So I've been doing real estate pretty much ever since I was a high school kid, with the exception of the 2-year missionary service I gave.
Nice. So one of the things that I've seen you really embrace over this past year, and probably even maybe just a little bit when I first met you, but really like skyrocket, is getting on video and helping others. Like, how has that changed your life?
So, as unpopular as he is, I learned a really valuable lesson from Donald Trump when he was running for president in 2000, what would it be, 15? I saw, because everything I knew of video up until that moment when I saw this, even though, TikTok didn't exist at the time, but there was little apps where people could take videos of themselves. But we were really still a picture-based economy where like videos were happening, like stories were being introduced, the Facebook Live stuff you had heard of. But all of a sudden, I saw Donald Trump running for president, doing a Facebook Live video, unedited, unproduced, a guy standing in front of his desk with a cell phone going like, all right, ready, set, go. And him just talking. And I was like, well, it's sloppy, it's dirty. And I may not agree with everything he's saying, but he's getting a message out there without any production. Like he's just delivering content.
Yeah.
And so it was at that moment where I was like, man, let me try this. And I looked around my office and I found my checkbook, and probably the exact same checkbook I have here. And I said, hey, and like I went Facebook Live, like, hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Herrera. Did you know that this checkbook becomes a very valuable tool when purchasing a house? Not because I'm going to pay cash for it, but because I'm going to put down what's called an earnest deposit. It was like the stupidest video ever, right?
Yeah.
But I saw that without any production, I didn't need an advertising person. I didn't need scripting. I didn't need anything. I could just talk. So that was kind of my entry into the world of video. That was 2016. The last, I was pretty good for a couple of years, and then I stopped because I wasn't getting any traction.
Okay.
And then over the last year, really, I made the decision that my Instagram profile will no longer be something for friends and family and like golf buddies to like, it finds no relevance for them.
Gotcha.
I decided about 8 years ago, like I'm going to use my Instagram profile purely to connect with real estate professionals.
Okay.
So everything I talk about on there is real estate. And I believe I have the most annoying Instagram account there ever was, because I don't take pictures of my pizza. I'm not like, hey, I'm not giving crazy political opinions or religious opinions or, like I purely am delivering content for real estate. But I know that there's individuals out there, Tom Ferry's amazing. Gary Vaynerchuk, somebody I very much look up to.
Yeah.
Chris Smith, Jimmy Mackin. And in the real estate space, there's a whole slew of people. And, I think of people like Colton Lindsay, who's a mutual friend of ours.
Yep.
He delivers great content in his Colton-y way. Spring Benson, she delivers great content in her Spring way. For me, I was like, I'm just going to do the like middle-aged, regular guy.
Yeah.
Here's how I see the world. And, the other person, not to rant too much, but, Glenda Baker. Yeah. I mean, Glenda's amazing. She is the LeBron James of video for real estate. But she doesn't say anything crazy. Like it's not that she's the greatest thought leader of all time, like recreating the wheel in real estate. She's consistent. She's articulate, and she's like well spoken. So just for me, that's where I, over the last year, was like, man, I'm just going to try every day. I just recorded a video right before you and I hopped on about Phil Jones. I called his book Exactly What to Say, the manual for human beings. Like, this is the manual we can use to unlock human interaction. I know you saw him speak at Tom's Summit. And that one reel, it was just like, hey, here's just my opinion. I'm a guy in Vegas. Yeah. Here's how I see human communication. Here's how this book's helped me. And luckily, the economy we live in now is like, if you make a good video that people connect with, then the views happen, the likes happen, the shares happen, and you see a lot of magic.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the Phil Jones book here in just a little bit, but I want to just stay on this video. I think, Joe, the one thing I see with you is the consistent message. And I think, everybody's like, what content, one content? Like, there's so many opportunities out there to find what content or what matches up with you. Because we're we're both providing content and we're both helping and coming from a heart of helping. And I just love the consistent message that you provide. You're just trying to help. That's what I see.
Yeah, 100. And I appreciate that. And the messaging is consistent, and probably as important as that, so is the frequency of posting. Like when I started doing CrossFit, I realized I wasn't faster than anybody else. I'm not crazy athletic. My whole thing was I can just show up every day.
Yeah.
Like if I can't be the fastest, if I can't be the strongest, if I can't be the most dynamic of a CrossFitter, could I show up every day? Like, well, I could do that. Yeah. So now it's the same thing with video. Like I'm not the best looking guy. I'm not the most articulate guy. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but can I create content every day? I can do that. So to your point, it's consistency of message, meaning like, it's always just, I never bait and switch people where I'm like, hey, if you sign up for my this and this and this, you get 5 things for free. That's just not my jam. My thing is always just good information, something that I'm passionate about, so I could speak about it in a way that comes across unscripted. And then I'm just consistent with it. Generally, I take usually Saturdays and Sundays off, but you're really not going to see a day where I don't post a piece of content trying to deliver value to other real estate professionals.
I love it. So Joe, let's talk about Phil Jones. Yeah. So you actually introduced him to me, and I was like, who's Phil Jones? And like, we train within a certain sales system within our world. And I was just really impressed with the way I was just impressed with what Phil Jones was sharing, but it was actually through you that I learned about him. And again, saw him at Tom Ferry Summit. We had a little private gathering, and he shared some additional information. And I was just blown away with a lot of the stuff that he was talking about. Talk a little bit about that as a certified guide within the Phil M. Jones, exactly what to say.
Yeah. So Phil and I shared a stage in 2016 or 17, maybe 18, in Boston, Massachusetts. It was a curator excellence conference. Okay. And at the time, I just wasn't ready for it. I thought it was good. I was still kind of bull in the china closet, like blunt force trauma brand of real estate. Like, let's just work really hard. Number of dials, scripting. That was just all my passion at the time. So when Phil spoke, it didn't really resonate with me as much as it did recently. So from 2018, I had read the book. I loved it. I thought it was good. I didn't really put any of it into practice. And then earlier this year in May, I went to Orlando, Florida, to a friend of mine's real estate, Veronica Figueroa's office. Okay. And Phil was speaking there. Jimmy Mackin, Chris Smith were all there. And the first day was Chris Smith. He wrote the book, Conversion Code. Chris is super smart dude. Enjoyed it. Day 2, Phil took the stage, and it was a small environment. And he just started delivering value around human communication. And I sat back and said, to me, at this point in my career and what I believe the real estate industry is going through, this is the most valuable and relevant voice in real estate. Because what he's talking about is, how do you use questioning fueled by curiosity to create conversations that lead to relationships, that create opportunity, or that create opportunities that lead to people making decisions? He's like, forget about all the scripting, forget about like, what if you're curious enough about somebody to ask them enough questions, get to know them on a deep enough level that you build a relationship, and then an opportunity arises. I'm like, hey, Jack, you got to check this out, bro. Like, you know me, you trust me, we trust each other, whatever. Yeah. Like, take a look at this, right? So many of us in the real estate space try to ask a question or two that sets someone up to get them to make a decision. And when Phil started talking about the failure we have in not allowing our questioning to build relationships, but forcing our questioning to force decisions, I was like, lights went off, right? So that was in May. And then in, August, the opportunity arose to go to a real estate specific conversation at his office in New York. So Taylor and I flew out there, 2 days with Phil, ate it all up. And then I was offered the opportunity to come back the end of the end of August. So beginning of August, we went out. I went out like 3 weeks later to get certified as an instructor to be able to actually teach his system. And so it's still a process. I mean, I'm a student. I'm not a black belt in the thing. I'm like a brown belt maybe. But to me, it's so. Yeah, to me, we're highly passionate about it because when I hear an agent on the phone, like right the wall next to me right here, we've got agents calling clients right now, blunt force trauma, right? And when they get off the phone with somebody, I'll say to them like, "Hey, Jack, tell me about that client you were just talking to." And it's very common in the real estate space for a realtor to go, "Well, they're looking to spend $1 million. Okay, well, tell me about them." "Well, they want 4,000 square feet." "Okay, hold on. Tell me about them." "You know what? I don't know anything about them." "All right, cool. Do this. Call them back. Just say, you know what? We talked about a house. We talked about all these things, but I'm curious, why are you thinking of moving right now? Like, what's going on in your life that's, and so it's like, if an agent can't dial down to me, the who of the client rather than the what of the client, they haven't dug deep enough. So we're just really trying to implement it on a high level with our team because I believe it's the most relevant thing we could do.
Yeah, you're trying to find a pain level. Like, what pain are they trying to solve? You don't do that by saying, hey, Joe, are you looking to spend $1 million or whatever that looks like? That doesn't talk about anything.
Well, we'll never beat the robots. Yeah. Like when it comes to what a client is looking for, we will never beat Zillow. It's just impossible. When somebody says, "Hey, Jack, I'm looking for 4 bedrooms, under 1.5, on a half acre, and I'd like a basement," it will take you infinitely longer to deliver the information of what is available for them than Zillow. Zillow, it's instantaneous. Okay, cool. Well, let's concede defeat. Okay, Zillow, you got us. You beat us. Mm-hmm. Well, if we want to win a game, we have to win the why game. And Zillow will never understand the why game. Zillow will never be on the phone with an individual and say, "Well, Jack, tell me what's going on." You're like, "I'm getting divorced and my wife, she's keeping the house, so I've got to go buy another place and got this boat I need to park somewhere." And like Zillow will never get that granular. Yeah. We can as humans. And so I think that we've just fully in our office, we've fully conceded to Zillow, like, all right, cool, you beat us at the what game, but you're never going to beat us at why.
I love that. Yeah, it's another way to stay in your lane. I mean, my goodness, there's so many technologies out there to have the speed to lead. I'm going to give you exactly what you need based on what the MLS and your exact requirements, 4-bed, 3, whatever that looks like. And when you really find out the why and build that relationship, like that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So a little bit more on that, like on exactly what to say. Like, let's just say you're having an agent attraction conversation, and maybe I own a brokerage. And I'm like, you know what? I'd like to learn more about you. Maybe I want to join your team or Rio or whatever. What does a conversation sound like?
Where do we go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable doing that?
Oh, 100%. We'll walk through it right now. So okay. I would say, Jack, like, tell me about you. Like what got you into brokerage ownership? And you may say, well, I ran a team for a while and it just seemed like the natural progression for me to say, I want to own my own shop, blah, 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 blah. I would say something very simple, which would be, so I would understand. So what we're going to walk through is past, present, future. So I would say, well, Jack, it seemed like at the time you made a great decision. Like you built an amazing brokerage. Mm-hmm. Great job. How's it going for you now? Like, are you happy? Like, how is it working? It's great. We're, making a little bit of money. We've got a lot of agents we love, blankety, blankety, blank. Well, let me ask you this. What are the 3 best things in your mind about your brokerage, like owning your brokerage? The first thing they're going to toss out is something they would say to everybody, like, it's great to control the money, right? Mm-hmm. Number 2 is going to be the thing that they actually care about the most. They're going to say, well, it's been really cool to build something. And then number 3 is just a toss away. Number 3 is usually complete crap. Like, well, it's fun to have my name on the building, right? Yeah. So number 3 doesn't really matter. Number 1 matters a little bit. Number 2 matters a lot. I'm gonna say, all right, well, let me ask you this, Jack. Looking into the future, seeing how big the world is, how big the North America is, and what a great thing you've built. Do you feel like imagining yourself into the future. Is this brokerage that you've built going to help you achieve your goals moving forward?
Mm.
They'll generally say, well, I've got some concerns. And so the reason you go through that process is, unless you understand someone's past, unless you can relate with their future, and unless you can paint a vision, or their present, paint a vision of the future, it's really hard to get them to make a move, because it's almost like I went through this exercise the other day with our operations manager. She was going at it with one of our agents. And I stopped the conversation mid-conversation. I said, hey, come sit next to me here. I was in her office. She came and sat next to me, and I said, off topic, her husband just built her a new desk. And I said, off topic, well, why did you have him build this desk? Well, I didn't like the blankety, 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 blank. I'm like, wow, sounds like you made a great decision. What do you like the most about it? What are the 3 things you really dig?
Yeah.
Blankety, blankety, blankety. Well, like, do you feel like that this desk is going to help you, be healthier? It rises, it lowers, whatever. So I said, all right, go sit back down. And when she was done, I said, did you see what I did there? I set this object out there, and then you and I talked about it from the same point of view. And we started talking about what we love about it, what we would do different next time, whatever. So one of the challenges, one of the reasons why our recruiting efforts fail is because we put them in their brokerage versus us in our brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can free up the space to go like, all right, let's disassociate ourselves from either. And let's you and I say, hey, why did you do what you did? Man, you made a great choice.
Yeah.
How's it working for you now? Does it fit your financial future? We have to allow that individual to paint for themselves a picture where I think there's some restrictions on what I'm doing now that won't let me reach my future goals.
There's that self-discovery moment.
Yeah. And in that gap creates the opportunity.
Yeah.
So the perception gap, the belief that if they tell me I've got some concerns whether or not what I'm doing now is going to help me achieve my future goal, that's all I need. Because then I'm like, well, imagine this. I start proposing a few ideas. How would you feel if, what would it look like if we, and that's very similar, whether it's a solo agent that does 4 deals a year that, really needs to get their crap together, or a big brokerage owner that has a ton going on that could conquer the whole world. It's the same process. Why'd you end up at KW? Like, why'd you end up at Berkshire Hathaway? Why'd you end up wherever? Sounds like you made a good choice at the time.
Yeah.
How's it working for you? And, how does it fit into your financial future? I think if everybody in that, whether you're building a team, a brokerage, whatever, follows that same process, that mode of discovery of them telling you why they did it, them telling you how it's working, and them telling you how the future looks, gives you the ability to say one very simple phrase: because you said it. Like when you and I originally talked, you were in transition mode. You were looking to build something big. If I knew now what I knew, if I knew then what I know now, I would have said, well, Jack, because you said blankety blankety blank, right? I would have reiterated to you, and that because you said is such a magical phrase, because it does 2 things. It, number one, lets you know that I listened to you, which we as salespeople are freaking terrible at.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, it helps you know that I'm fixing a problem for you. Like, because you said, here's a solution.
Yeah.
Right? So I know that's kind of a long.
No, that's
answer,
beautiful the way you did that there, Joe. So like a lot of times, like just think about, you have like a recruiter at ABC brokerage, and they call you up and they say, hey, Joe, here's what we can do for you. Mm-hmm. And they have not a clue what the hell you really truly need without even asking any questions. I mean, that's the typical recruiting conversation that I hear, that my agents hear, that your agents hear too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the issue, right? Like Phil loves to say, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice.
There you go.
So think about that. Issuing a prescription without diagnosing what issues exist is malpractice. And so we're famous at that. Like, hey, welcome. Like, here's what we'll do, and here's what we'll do next, and here's what we'll do next, and here's why it's good for you, and here's why, whatever. I mean, imagine showing up to a doctor and you're like, you set an appointment because obviously you got some issues, and they're all right, Jack. Well, here's the 5 things we're going to do. We're going to put you on this med, this med, this med. You're going to go, well, this is freaking crazy. We haven't even talked about what my issues are. And so in our recruiting conversations, if we're not talking to people about what their issues are, if we can't say because you said, we don't have the right to even issue a prescription.
So this plays into having conversations with buyers and sellers. We're putting our ideas, we're painting our picture for them, and we have no idea what their pain level is. You know what? I don't care if my split's 20-80, 20 to me and 80 to you.
Right.
I just want to be on a team that supports me. You have no clue what that looks like, right? Without asking those questions and letting them tell you.
And that's why it doesn't matter. Like how someone got in touch with you, like the history. So we had on Monday, we have a company doing some local kind of like events happening in Vegas advertising for us, right?
Yeah.
And one of our agents was confused. He's like, hey, Joe, can you help me? I got a lead about fall events and I don't even know what to do with it. And I was patient with him, but my point was like, what does it matter? I would go down a very simple process, which is, so what part of town events are you looking for? Like which ones interest you the most? What part of town? Yeah. Like, oh, we're Southwest. Oh, cool. Do you live out in the Southwest? Yeah, I do. Oh, rad. I get a lot of home buyers that are constantly looking for the Southwest. How do you like living out there? What led you to live where you live, right? How is it working for you? Like, do you enjoy it out there now? Like you made a great decision at the time. Well, let me ask you this out of curiosity. Do you see raising your family? Do you see living there for 10 years? So it's the same past, present, future conversation, regardless of whether they're an agent, whether they're a home buyer, whether they're a home seller, whether they're, anyone in our world. It's that past, present, future conversation. I love that framework because it gives me the ability, as soon as I get on the phone with somebody, I'm like, well, let me ask you this. What led to the decision you made? How's it going for you? Does it fit your future? It's like, no matter agent, broker, buyer, seller, renter, leaser, commercial deal, like no matter what it is, that same process is very, and this is where I talk about principles over tactics. To some degree, scripting is very tactical. It's, it's hello, Mr. So-and-so, like, and it's just very, scripting to me is very letter of the law. What I love so much about what Phil teaches is the very spirit of the law. Like, forget about the letter, get to the principles, okay. And so obviously I geek out over it, but yeah, it doesn't matter if it's an agent you're trying to attract, a buyer you're trying to get into a home, a seller you're trying to get to list with you. Like, imagine a world for anyone listening to this that deals with home sellers. Imagine you get an email or a call like, hey, I'm thinking of selling my house. I'm interviewing agents. And imagine if you slow down the process, not to say like, oh, great, I'll be there tomorrow. But if you said, well, let me ask you this, before I come over, what are the 3 things you love the most about your home?
They're not hearing that.
It'd be a complete disruptor, right? It'd be like, oh, well, no one can sell it better than me. I'll be there tomorrow at 2. But if I slow down the process and said, what are the 3 things you love the most about your home? And let me ask you this, between you and I, what would you change? You're going to show up and they're going to go, dude, Jack gets me. Jack knows me and my house on a level that none of these other guys do, because they just show up with, charts and here's what we're going to do and whatever. But before you even get there, if you slow down the process to say, like, I'm curious about your house because I want to see, obviously you're evaluating if I'm a good fit for you. I want to know if your house is a good fit for my passion. Yeah. It's a different way to approach it, right? So it's the same process no matter what the outcome we're trying to achieve, based on who it is. But if we understand the process and the principles, then the tactics are easy.
It's a beautiful, what I call a pattern interrupt, where they're expecting the salesperson in you to come out and, press real hard, third copy is yours. You're seeking first to understand, and then you're asking questions to find the pain level and get them there or not.
Well, the crazy thing that happens is when we slow down the process, we actually speed up the result. Yeah. Our problem is we're always trying to speed up the result. And so we try to speed up the process. So if we want things to happen sooner, so for me, I'm obsessed with the ending of relationships. In theory, if I follow the process right, I'm going to get a whole bunch of my time back by avoiding working with people I shouldn't work with. So if I get home buyer leads, the traditional scripting would go like, what are you looking for? Well, what if I get into the why and I find out that their sister-in-law is also a realtor? And I'm like, well, it sounds like you've used her in the past. How did that work out for you? Do you see her helping you make your next move? And then I find out really quick that like, yeah, they're going to use this lady no matter what. Well, think of all the time I just bought back for myself. Rather than trying to win a client I'm never going to get,
Yeah.
what if I save them and me some time? I'm like, so if I understand this correctly, it sounds like you've got a great relationship with your sister. You're going to use her. Oh yeah, no matter what. Okay, well, great. By slowing down the process enough to discover that,
Yeah.
I've sped up the result of us not working together. So it's not always, not every result is a good thing. Yeah.
Well, the result is good because you're able to move on to the next, the ones that will.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So like, let's just say an agent's coming to your team and they're like, and you hear the split conversation and they say, you know, Joe, I want to be on a really great split.
Yeah. I would say, well, there's two types of agents. Agents who obsess over keeping 100% of their $100,000 and agents who enjoy getting 50% of $500,000. Which one would you consider yourself? So I'd say something along that line.
Yeah.
I would say, well, there's two types of people for whom percentage symbols, splits are the most important thing, and people for whom dollar symbols are the most important thing. Like they just want to put as much money in their pocket. Which one would you say you are? And as soon as they say, well, I certainly am more of a dollar symbol person, I want to put money in my pocket. Well, because you said that, I want to share with you how our agents actually put more money in their pocket than people who are at 100%. Or how open are you to having that conversation? So you see, it's like, it's just reframing. It's going like, because so often we're like, okay, that person thinks they want that, but in reality, what they want is this, and I can't make them see that without slowing down the process, backing up, and going like, all right, well, let's look at this: percentage symbols or dollars? Which one's more important? Dollars. Okay, cool. Well, because you said dollars, you know, and you just go down that.
So I tested you on your certification because you sound just exactly like Phil. And I wanted to bring the value to those that are out there. And the thing is, like, when we do these podcasts, like we bring in some really great talent and they share this information on things that, like, this is a simple conversation with a little bit of practice that can change your life. The unfortunate part is that, as you know, most won't.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Most of them, the reason why coaching and, especially the selling of coaching is such a negative calorie exercise is because one of the things I struggle with is I know that the people I coach won't do what I'm telling them to do. It's the saddest part. Right. But we keep searching for the ones who will, right?
If you're getting coached by Joe or you want to get coached by Joe, if you just follow what he talked about in the last like 5 minutes, it will change your life. I guarantee it. Like, he puts out this great video content and things to help people achieve at high levels. This was free. You didn't even have to pay for it. My goodness. But again, most won't. I do the same thing with our teams. And I'm like, if you just do this, this, and this, and just change this a tad bit, and maybe, strengthen this a little bit, there's a big chance you're going to be super, super successful. But again,
100%.
That's the frustrating part of it. So I want to ask you this, like, what's one of your biggest success stories in coaching, either an agent or a client in your world?
Well, back in November, I knew that Real Broker was going to be opening up in Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
And one of my good friends up there, I've known her forever, is a girl by the name of Amy Younger, and she was running a team of about 18 agents. And I approached her with a very simple Phil Jones principle, which was, Amy, this may not be for you, but Real Broker is going to be opening up in Toronto. And who do you know that would want to collaborate with me and kind of build something awesome? So she said, not her. And so over the next 10 minutes, she's like, not me, but because she knew me and she trusted me, we had a relationship. She was like, tell me about it. So I told her about it. And then 10 minutes later, now 20 minutes into the conversation, she's like, well, what would my transition look like? The reason I say that was one of my biggest successes is the reality is I knew what Amy would be in this ecosystem.
Yeah.
She couldn't see it. And so I was able to paint that picture. And now she joined with 18 agents. She just crossed over. Her network has 150 agents in it.
Love it.
She's replaced a significant, in a really tough economy. Like Toronto has been what we feel in America now, they were feeling 6 months ago, right? And so Toronto's been a tough economy, but she's building something awesome. And so she's somebody that I am proud to be able to mentor and work with. And I've seen her build something amazing, and it's just getting started. But it all started with those very basic principles, which was like, hey, this may not be for you, but who do you know that may be interested? And the who that was interested was her. It just took her a while to discover that for herself.
Love it. It's funny. We just we met somebody. I met somebody back in January, had some conversations with, and we were like just having some discovery conversations. And at that point in that person's life, it wasn't the right time to make a transition. And well, she just did. So
awesome.
It's good for everybody here. So anyway,
it is awesome.
By the time this airs, that announcement will take place. It's actually pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
I think you've already shared it. Like, what do you do best? I think I just learned from like our conversation here.
I'm trying to get, and I appreciate it. I'm trying to get really good at the human communication stuff. My superpower is lead generation. So we generate Zillow quality leads for a tenth of the price, basically. Yeah. So we've just started rolling that out now for where we're going to be doing it for other teams.
Okay.
It was strictly a Joe Taylor Group thing, but now we're like, man, let's, if we really want to help people, especially in this economy where their friends aren't buying houses 3 times a year, let's provide warm, contactable leads that are looking to buy and sell properties at a fraction of the cost. So that's my actual superpower, is the lead generation stuff. I'm trying to develop the skill of human communication.
Okay. Well, you're beating yourself up. It's pretty damn good, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Advice you would give to a new agent first. Somebody's new, they come in. What's that?
Yeah. Get into a system, partner up. I mean, there's no reason to recreate the wheel. And by recreate the wheel, I mean your own lead gen systems, your own transaction coordination, your own like we as real estate agents are psychotic, especially when we get into the industry, because we think we're going to be solo practitioners and we're going to do everything ourselves. And it's just a loser's game. If people want to be successful in real estate, especially in the future is team-based. The future is central lead generation with big budgets, effective training and mentoring, really good transaction coordination, and the ability to pivot together as a group and accomplish big things. So if you're a brand new agent or a newer agent or an agent that's been in the industry for a while and starting to struggle, like, you need to partner up. You need to find people that are really great at the things you're weak at. If you're really good at calling leads, putting them in escrow and closing deals, just do that. You don't have to be everything to everybody.
Yeah, it's funny. I get to talk to a lot of agents just like you do, and they might be great at closing deals and getting them into escrow, but the back end support and the deals that fall apart because of all the foolishness, because they don't have that bandwidth, or they don't have the back, like I call it, the support staff and structure there. It's sad to see, and sometimes egos come into play, and they are in proximity of the Joes, the Taylors, the Springs, the Coltons, but yet they don't ask they just won't do it because of ego. It's sad.
100%. Yeah. And that pride comes at a cost, especially in a ecosystem like ours. Pride will cost you actual dollars. So if you want to be effective in your career, you have to understand that it's pride swallowing. I mean, I haven't gotten more than 30 or 40% on a given deal in 20 years. I mean, I've had a 50-50 partner forever. So it's like people are obsessed over 100%. I'm like, I make 7 figures and I get sometimes a point, sometimes 20%, sometimes 30%. It's never more than 50. So, the issue would be, how do we help people understand that at a really high level? Because the reality is, the solo game is, it's not the solo game is just not an effective way to practice real estate.
Yeah, I'll have fun with this. It's funny because some people go, well, I can get 100% here. And I'm like, if you go and have a conversation with this one brokerage and you tell them that you're talking to Jack Lehr, they'll give you 110%.
I love that. That's
they
awesome.
will.
Yeah.
I give them the name. I said, they might even stroke you a check to join their brokerage. Now, good luck selling anything,
true.
but
yeah,
that does happen. It's pretty funny. Well, anything else you want to share with our audience today?
No, I mean, I think if you're not making video now, the thing that I'll tell you is my worst Instagram reel is better than your Instagram reel that doesn't exist. So if you're not making video, you're missing out. Don't even worry about being good at it. Don't watch them. Just post them and let the universe decide for you. You've got to be making video content. You've got to be teamed up. You've got to have collaboration. You've got to have proximity. And if you have those things, you're going to kill it. You're going to succeed. If you don't have those things, then you're relying on your own talent, and that becomes a massive issue. So I think just focusing on collaboration, creating decent content, not obsessing over being perfect at anything, just being progressive and consistent, and you're going to see awesome stuff happen in your business.
And be okay with haters because they promote you. It's beautiful, actually.
100%.
We both probably have a couple of those. Do you have any questions for me, Joe? I like to ask that every time. What?
I don't think so. I think we're good. I think you've delivered a lot of value into my world, and I'm looking forward to continue to grow with you.